Welcome back, brothers and sisters. In today's sermon, I've got 6 magical potions for you to give your D&D players. I've got one for strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Or at least they're sort of in those spheres. So something for any character in your campaign. Now don't forget to pay your hobby tithing, leave a like, and let us pray. Up first is the Potion of Wyrm Palm. Infuses your strength with temporal magics, granting you the ability to tear and hold open portals in the fabric of reality with your bare hands. On a DC 16 strength check, you open a temporary teleportation portal to a location you are familiar with that you can keep open by successfully repeating the strength check while standing inside the portal. Clearly, this is meant for that epic, dramatic, not really a last stand, but more of like the desperate escape from a collapsing dungeon or a fight that's just not going the way the party wants it to, where the barbarian or the fighter, the strong characters who don't have access to magical items, can do something magical. They can open that teleportation portal when the wizard is unconscious and dying out and they can't open it, or they've used up all their spell slots, right? And they tear it open. If it's the barbarian, they could literally like punch through the fabric of reality, or maybe the fighter can, infuse the potion on their blade. I guess it's a potion, so you're supposed to drink it, but it could be an oil, right? Very easy thing to substitute, and they cut and shred open reality, and then they're able to like keep parrying it open with their blade as they're fighting for their lives to keep this portal open while the rest of the party kind of funnels through. That's what it was in my head when I thought of this potion, but I also just think any opportunity you have to give non-magical or non-caster classes access to spells is a great thing. You could do something, if you don't want it to be a one-use sort of teleportation portal thing, maybe it's what's that spell? Misty Step, right? It's some sort of potion that allows the fighter or their barbarian for the next minute to punch or cut their way through mini bursts or mini wormholes to be able to get a bunch of mobility around the battlefield. But yep, that's the Wyrm Palm. Idea number 2 is the Potion of Twinge of Grasshopper. It transmutes your muscle tendons, allowing them to convert your body's kinetic energy into elastic energy. You can jump up to your movement speed immediately after making a melee attack for the next minute. So in my head, the character drinks this potion, and then their legs do this like horrifying like crack. They like almost go backwards. All of the bones and things rearrange themselves to look more like a grasshopper's legs. And then in battle, every time they're swinging their sword and striking at a creature, even if they're missing and they're just like clanging off of the armor, it takes all of that, and I guess almost like Black Panther style with the armor, right? It like harnesses it, it moves it through their body. You could even describe it as like this green glow, green for a grasshopper, right? But it transfers it down into their legs, and then they can kick away. So it's a great potion for people who want to be doing hit and run type attacks. So I think it's perfect for a rogue or a fighter, or really anybody could have a lot of fun with this though, especially if you can incorporate some height into your battlefields. If you've got some ruins or some spires or just mounds of rubble that they can go up, make an attack, and then kick away. I guess I didn't put it on here, but I would consider adding that when you make this jump, it ignores opportunity attacks. I think that is like in the moment, I would probably, if I was like, oh crap, I didn't think to do that, just add that on. Give yourself that benefit, because otherwise, who's really going to want to use it now that I'm thinking about it? But also, I added that you can jump your full movement, because otherwise if you ran up, use 25 feet of your movement, then you can only jump 5 feet. Like, what the fuck? Who's going to want to use that? So hand wave some of those lame rules and just let your characters go crazy, jumping all over the place, right? They run up to one bandit, make a swing, jump across the battlefield, so that on their next turn they can attack another one and jump across the battlefield. Like, if you've got a bunch of enemies all over the place, it's great that your fighter or your rogue can be going in and doing a bunch of damage to whittle them down low, and then the ranger or the wizard can be plink, 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 like picking off these injured enemies with shots from their bow or some magic missiles or whatever. But that's the Twinge of Grasshopper potion. The Potion of Revenant's Essence is probably the coolest one on the list. It floods your body with necrotized adrenal glands that prevent you from receiving magical healing, but keep your body functioning normally even after it has suffered a mortal wound. So when reduced to 0 HP after you've taken this potion, you do not fall unconscious, but instead continue taking turns as normally and rolling death saves for the next minute or until you die. It is a potion that will keep you alive even while your body is dying. This is one for that dramatic final stand, that epic BBG battle where you cannot afford to have the barbarian or the paladin go down. They have to stay up, or I guess your clerics or whatever, really any character, but I imagine it as like the barbarian or the fighter. You just have to keep going. So you are, even as you're hemorrhaging blood or your arm has been ripped off from the fireball spell or the dragon like bit it off, you are in this state of undead shock and just having this I love this necrotized adrenal glands. What does that even mean? I have no idea, but it's just flooding your system to keep you going. Even if your mind might be shutting down, you are able to swing with your axe a few more times, a couple more rounds, but like that's a great benefit to have. But the most interesting part about this potion is clearly that you're still rolling death saves. It's not that it staves, well, I guess it does stave off death. It doesn't prevent death entirely. You're not just like staying conscious and you just stay at like 1 HP, right? No, you are dropped, but you're still going and you're needing to make these saves. So if you take damage while you're still up, you immediately fail 2 of those death saving turns. So it's like giving you, it's not a guaranteed just go overkill and kill everything and you're going to be fine, right? It's more of just like, you're probably still going to die. Almost guaranteed death, right? Like you are engaging with the enemy while making death saving throws. It's not like you're laying unconscious on the battlefield and someone has to run up and just like put a stab in you randomly instead of attacking somebody that's still up. You are still an active combatant. So it only takes 2 hits to kill you outright. You're like risking your death saving throw opportunities almost in a way to continue the fight. And I just see that leading to so many awesome dramatic final fights. So that's my favorite potion, the Revenant's Essence. The potion of Catalyzing Thought is a little more interesting of one, I think, though. It rewires your central nervous system, dampening pathways used for muscle function to greatly increase the speed and clarity with which thoughts are processed in your subconscious. For the next 1d12 hours, all intelligence checks and saves you make are at advantage and receive a plus 10 bonus, but your strength and dexterity modifiers change to -5. When would anybody use this, right? Like, this is clearly not really great for a combat potion. Well, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be something that if your party's going into a labyrinth and they need to use their intelligence to navigate this crazy complex series of puzzles and things like that, or to memorize the pathways or whatever, then someone would want to throw this down. Or if they're going into a library and they have to do some critical research, maybe they're only permitted to delve into this library for like 1d4 hours, and they just have to make the most of it. Throw down this Catalyzing Thought potion to make sure that your wizard or your scholar character is going to succeed. But here's how I, as a GM, would kind of think about, or maybe anticipate them using this potion. If they go into the labyrinth, I'll kind of talk about both, but let's go with the labyrinth, right? This is a risky potion to take, because if a combat encounter does come up, this character's at a huge disadvantage. Now, if you're a wizard, having a -5 to your dex and strength might not be the worst thing in the world, especially when you're like, oh, hell yeah, I'm getting a plus 10 and advantage on all of my checks with intelligence. Like, my spells are going to be super powerful. True, but if anything does run up and get you in combat, or worse, something is forcing you to make strength and dex saves, like a trap, or you've got some big monster that whenever they're swinging, you got to make a strength check or avoid getting smashed across the room and knocked into a wall or something, like, that's not going to be good for you. So I would try and lace the session with opportunities for there to be combat that could really challenge them, but maybe not guaranteed combat. Like if the characters can pass all of these checks, they can avoid those, right? But another example with that library, they're going into this library to just do some investigation. They're like, there's no way that there's going to be a combat. I'm totally fine. Well, maybe I would have the characters roll me a d4. Roll me a d4, and on a 1, something bad's going to happen. And what is that 1? Well, the library is attacked by spies. Some enemy spies from another library guild or some sort of secret knowledge association, whatever it is that makes sense for your world. They show up to attack and steal some information. And now the wizard's like, oh, fuck. Like, okay, do I get involved in this fight knowing that I'm maybe not going to be the most powerful that I've been and at a very serious disadvantage to avoid these rogues' poisoned blades? Do I just sit back, or do I keep making checks to try and get as much information as I can before it's stolen, right? Those are interesting choices for them to have to make. It shouldn't just be here's a potion, great job, it's free information, go, right? That'd be lame. The Apothecary's Blight is our wisdom potion, mostly because it kind of leans into survival and crafting and things like that, so... yeah. Anyways, that's why it's wisdom. But Apothecary's Plate. It decomposes a random digit, allowing the carbon-rich flesh to act as the soil from which a rare herb quickly sprouts. A sacrifice digit is replaced with one use of any harvestable plant or harvestable herb or similar plant life you are familiar with. So this is not a potion that is probably going to come up in some crazy combat or something like that. No last stand. Nobody's going to pull out their Apothecary Plate and be like, oh, great, I've got a good berry. Although they might. Now that I'm saying that, like, wouldn't that be crazy? Everybody's going down. They've used up all their healing spells. There's no potions of healing. We got to get the paladin up so they can, you know, lay on hand somebody or divine smite the enemy with their last action. What do we do? Oh my god. I have this Apothecary Plate potion. You throw it down and your finger rots and turns into a good berry. That would be pretty epic. But more likely, I think, how I would use this is kind of, it's just like a fun storytelling opportunity, I think. The druid or the ranger or whatever nature-y themed crafting character can sacrifice a digit to grow some sort of rare herb that they've heard of that will cure the Dryad's tree. The Dryad's tree's been poisoned, and they're like, if I only had this insert X herb for your world, like, oh, I could probably cure this thing. Oh, well, I definitely could probably do that for you, but it would require sacrificing one of my fingers. Like, am I going to do that? Now, if a character sacrifices their finger, am I going to punish them with, like, oh, now your dexterity's lower? Like, of course not. That would be so lame. I would so lean into if your characters ever could propose an opportunity or an idea of how to use this, you best believe I'm leaning into it, because it is a very niche idea. It's kind of like a funny one in a way. Like, you're losing a finger, but it's harmless, and here we go. We could solve a major problem. I just think that's cool, and it's something that the players can have in their back pocket to use however they might see fit. And our final potion is for charisma, the Potion of Elder Speech, which, when drank, creates a single telepathic link between you and all other creatures within, I put 100 feet, it could kind of be whatever you want, who simultaneously hear any thoughts you choose to project across them within the next minute. The telepathic strain this places on you causes your intelligence saves to be at disadvantage for the duration. Now, I know I said this is charisma-based, but it kind of costs you something with intelligence here. That's because the way I could see this being used, just kind of off the dome, is like, we need to infiltrate a cult's lair, but they've got some people on watch out, and there's cultists all over the place. We're sure of it. We're not really in a place to want to fight them all. You throw down, the bard takes their potion of elder speech and communicates to all of the cultists within that lair, like, you know, pretending to be the leader of the cult, like, everybody report to the summoning room. We are going to summon the dungeon, or the demon, right? And all the cultists like, oh, okay, like, you heard the boss, and off they go. Or, like, maybe you want to start up a whisper campaign. You want to start a revolution in a city. The bard throws down their potion of elder speech and is able to, secretly, sort of, like, everybody kind of would maybe hear it at the same time. So they might be like, did you hear that? That was weird. But they would all hear whatever rumor your bard is wanting to implant in their minds to turn them against the corrupt king or whatever. What an easy, fun way to get a very strong start to a whisper campaign. I think that would be really cool. And of course, the name Elder Speech, my idea is that this potion is brewed from the brain of an elder, or is brewed from the cerebral fluid of an elder brain, or maybe an intellect devour if you don't want to have it be like so high level of a spell requiring, or the components for a spell, right? But there's so many ways you could use this that I think your bard will have a lot of fun deciding which one they want to use it in. So those are my ideas for 6 potions. If you've got your own, of course, leave them down in the comments. But as always, to my faithful cultists, stick around to the end. We've got some church announcements. First one, I've got my Start Playing campaigns going right now. I've got a Tuesday group and a Thursday group, both at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's $25 a session. My Thursday group has 5 folks in it, so 1 seat left. Tuesday has 4 folks in it, so we've got 2 seats left. And then every Sunday, I'm running a Learn to Play D&D one-shot. And this upcoming Sunday, I think, what is that? There's like 3 seats left, so half the group has been filled. So that'll be a really fun one. It's an adventure called The Son of Strahd, where the Dampier bastard son of Strahd has kidnapped you all, and he's going to try and sacrifice you to bring his father back, and you've got to escape this crumbling dungeon before that can happen. So Go check that out if you want to play some D&D with me. Have me as your dungeon master. And if you're a member of the church's Patreon, which starts at the $3 tier, then our most recent Sunday homebrew blessing was a bunch of VTT terrain assets for alchemy labs. It's all these big distilleries and some potion cabinets and this cool vault door that has like some weird brewing alchemy instruments hooked up to it. I thought my idea when I was making that one is like, ooh, what if the only way to open this door was to create a certain chemical reaction? So it involved some intelligence checks. You couldn't just pick the lock. That was just a fun idea. But it also has 4 prepped maps that are using all of those assets, and then for each of the maps there is a PDF printout where there's like a little blocked out space where you can put your notes for each of the rooms. There's a numbered version of this map that kind of correlates with those, so you can get all that for $3 on the Patreon. And of course it wouldn't be a Church of Doom video if I didn't talk about my Kickstarter, the Doom Stronghold. We had another jump. It seems like between every video it's at least $100 or more that gets added in there, so thank you to everybody who's been backing it. Just over 2 weeks left with 138 backers for this handmade zine full of random tables to help you generate strongholds for your campaign and the types of adventures and campaigns you can have going on in them. Just as one of the random ideas I had worked on the other day that was really cool, it was for the list of dungeons beneath the stronghold. One of the ideas was a partially unearthed horn of some ancient titan, a leviathan, a Tarask, whatever you want it to be, but it was just the horn that a cult of beastmen or monster worshippers had found and kind of worshipped. Maybe the knights who were in this stronghold before had kind of worshipped this thing to give them strength, and all they'd shaved off part of the horn to brew some strength enhancing potions. I have no idea. You could go crazy with it, but the main idea just being your players get this stronghold and then find out that sleeping beneath that stronghold is a titan that, if it were to ever wake up, would completely obliterate their stronghold. What a fun idea that would be, huh? I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. But anyways, all of this is linked down in the description if you want to go check it out. Would be much appreciated. Best way to support the church is to pursue any of those routes. But thank you all for watching, and we say these things in their unholy names. Amen.